Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Getting Started in Airtable. Today we have Kevin Dunn, our Director of Digital Success Programs here, who will be giving today's presentation. But before we dive in, just a few quick housekeeping notes. You'll find helpful links under the Resources tab. You can answer questions throughout using the polls panel. Feel free to chat with fellow attendees, but just a heads up that the chat is for general discussion only. So if you do have questions for our presenter, please drop them in the Ask Presenters panel. To kick things off, we'd love to hear from you. Where are you with AI adoption in your work? A poll has just dropped, so please make sure to answer that. And also, please drop where you're tuning in from today. We'd love to see where you're watching. And now I'm excited to hand this over to Kevin to begin today's presentation.
Amazing. All right. Can folks hear me, see me loud and clear? I'm following along the chat. I get distracted with the chat. I saw Alaska. I saw Puerto Rico. I saw Boston. So it looks like Chicago, Orlando. It looks like we're getting some good presence here. Thanks all for joining. I think across maybe YouTube or LinkedIn, X, wherever you're tuning in. Appreciate you joining us. Excited to yap a little bit about Airtable, a little bit about AI. Also, let's give it up Nia Brown, back of house, hooking it up and helping make sure I don't mess this thing up, trying to toggle between screens and showing you all some demos here. So pulled up the agenda. Here's the plan, right? We're going to start with like a quick mental model piece, the difference between, AI chat tools, AI-powered workflows, AI agents, right? A lot of vernacular, a lot of taxonomy circling the AI space right now. And then we'll, kind of contextualize those, and then understanding where and how Airtable fits in across the board. Then we'll get hands-on with some of the AI capabilities within the core, Airtable platform, Omni, field agents, and then we'll also touch on how MCP works and what it means for connecting your AI agents of choice into Airtable data, into your Airtable instance. We'll quickly talk about credits briefly. That's always a question that comes up, how to manage kind of AI credits, the cost per action. So we'll take a quick look. And then obviously we'll open it up for questions. Ideally, I've structured this session today to be practical. So anything you do see from Omni capabilities, field agent, MCP, realistically, you can use all of this right away. You can convert some of the sample use cases and examples right into your own work today. So hopefully we walk out with some helpful stuff. Okay. So I know Nia opened a poll to start, but I'll try and follow along in the chat here as well. But how many folks today are using something like ChatGPT or Copilot or Claude for work? I have a hypothesis that it's likely many of you. And then, I myself am a frequent user, and obviously these tools are genuinely useful. But I think, contextualizing our AI chat apps and making a distinction between that and some of these other like AI workflows is really important. It kind of sets the stage for most of the conversation today. So just really, really quickly, we see three kinds of AI happening now at work. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot. I'm trying to see who's in the lead here. A lot of ChatGPT, some Copilot. All right. Some folks, Pokemon style, collect them all of them. Yeah, it's awesome. So again, the first level here is AI chat tools, your Claudes, your ChatGPTs. We all know this. We love this. You ask a question, you get the answer back. You then close out that window. So, hey, chat, help me write a launch announcement for our new product launch or feature release. And these are incredibly helpful for one-off tasks, right? But oftentimes, most of the time, the work will then disappear when that conversation ends, right? Or when you close that thread. And we know there can at times be some drawbacks, right? Hallucinations. It can get things wrong. It requires a more thorough review. Data, context don't always carry over between sessions. Obviously, I'm only going to get an output or I'm only going to see an active response when I first ask or prompt or put an input in, right? And so, that's where we're at with chat apps. Moving down to the second, AI-powered workflows, right? A structured, multi-step process where AI can execute predefined, pre-configured tasks in a sequence where we keep humans in the loop at key checkpoints, right? We have a path that it's defined, and the AI will then perform the work. And the workflow itself determines what happens next, if that makes sense. So in Airtable, this oftentimes happens with field agents. It can be prompted through natural language with Omni, our co-builder. And so, I don't know, an example could be, we track customer feedback in Airtable. So a new survey is submitted. AI can then help summarize that response. It can categorize the sentiment, positive, negative, or neutral. It can then draft a recommended follow-up based on that sentiment and the contents of the survey feedback. And it can assign it to a human team member. A human can review it and then send that on our behalf. And so, again, AI-powered workflow, sequential in the workflow itself defines the steps. Okay, the third level, and this is, where it feels like the space is going. This is the emerging era of AI, if you will. But it's AI agents, right? Or agentic. And so maybe these words are coming up a bunch. Agents in this case are autonomous. They're goal-oriented, right? It can reason, it can plan, it decides the tools and the steps to take to achieve the outcome. And it can work alongside other agents in your workflow. It can work alongside humans to accomplish like more complex outcomes, right? And so unlike the AI-powered workflow above it, you don't necessarily need to specify every step of the process or of the workflow. The agent itself can determine the actions, how to get to that outcome or to that goal, what tools that it needs to work in or work with. And so, again, I think it's an important table set here. And maybe like an example of the agent would be, hey, prepare next month's customer newsletter, right? It could be that plain language of a prompt. But with the appropriate system of record and context, past performance, tools and setups, skills that you've trained it on, it can perform that autonomously, right? Okay. And so I think one of the most important primitives in this agent era, this new agent era of AI, is that operational system of record, which Airtable, I feel, maybe I have a bias, but like Airtable is uniquely positioned to be that system of record for you, for your team, and for any organization, right? If you think about, a sales team that didn't have a system of record, if it's just a sales floor and everyone's just having ad hoc conversations with customers and, someone shouts from across the room like, hey, I just closed that account. I just closed a deal. Somebody remember that. And remember it forever and remember it in context, everything would be tacit and incoherent. It would fall apart, right? And so sales organizations in that case moved towards systems of records or CRMs. And so for the same reason that humans and teams need a structured system of record to do meaningful work across many turns, across many teams, across many days and many years, agents need exactly the same thing. And so what we have found is that the affordances that make a system of record great for humans, they're malleable, they're flexible, they're structured, they're scalable, consistent, accurate. There's permissions and governance. Your data is organized, it's relational, it's queryable. Like all of those principles that make it great for humans are the same principles we're applying as we build Airtable as the system of record for both humans, but also agents. And so whether you're using Airtable's like built-in AI experiences, which we'll take a look at in a moment, or connecting them to external agents like your Claudes and your ChatGPTs, Now, Airtable is designed to be the hub your workflows run through. And so with that said, if we get practical, let's probably start with Omni. So the long and short of it, Omni is your AI builder and analyst agent right inside natively in Airtable. And so I would distill it down to three core things that it does, and it does really well, right? And you can kind of see them here. One, it builds. So you can describe the problem you're trying to solve or the type of tracker you want to build, and Omni goes and can create it for you. The tables, the fields, the views, the interfaces, both with the native default components or custom components, the automations underneath, forms, the whole thing, the whole working app. And so again, this goes all the way to custom interfaces as well. So, you could have Omni help you build 3D visualizations, like streaming app style media browsers, whiteboard-esque collaboration spaces. Now, Omni can be the builder that you delegate all of that work out to. It lives inside of Airtable. It respects your structure, your data model, your permissions, etc. Really powerful stuff. We'll take a look. Two, it also analyzes. It answers questions, right? So you can ask Omni a real question about your actual data stored in Airtable, like what are the top unmet needs from our mid-market calls this quarter? And it'll read across all of your records, and it'll give you an answer summarized or through the parameters that you want it output as. It'll include citations. And so Omni doesn't just return like the exact match text that you're looking for from your data. It can run more advanced analysis. So it can surface trends, it can deliver strategic insights, and that all starts with a question, right into the Omni panel there. Third, it can create and update your data and your records through conversation. So you can just tell Omni what happened in plain language, like, hey, log a new feature request from the Riverside call and then tag that with the high priority status. Or like mark these 3 onboarding tasks as done and then move the rest to next week, like reset the due date on those. And so it can actually write those changes for you. It can pick the right fields, the right linked records. And so it maintains the cleanliness of your structure, but it can read and update on your behalf. So one thing to note on that too is that even users who only have interface access, so those that don't have access to the underlying data layer, can interact with the data in this way too. So users all the way on the back end, but also those that don't even need to know the intricacies of how your base is built underneath can take advantage of that sort of capability with Omni. All right, so let me take a quick, let me toggle over to the Airtable and let's see what all that looks like in action, right? Give me 1 sec, let me toggle over.
So when you go to create a new app, you'll see the option to start with Omni. So let's do that. And I'm going to describe the problem I'm trying to solve. So can you build me a content calendar app for my company, Brightleaf? We're an AI-powered personal finance app, and we publish content regularly on topics like budgeting, investing, saving. It starts with researching trending topics, writing drafts in our brand voice, going through a review cycle, and then publishing. Our team is full of content writers. And so now we can watch what happens from that prompt. You'll notice Omni won't jump straight into building. It'll show me some of the details and some of the plan. Now that's a good sign, right? It'll allow us to review the details of topics in drafted content, the review and publishing flow, and all looks good. So obviously we'll click the build. And now we'll actually see it building in Airtable in real time, starting with a submission form, some custom interfaces. Looks like it's working through some trending topics lists. You can start to see some options for the content creation, review and approval, steps of our process on the left-hand side. And so now we'll get what looks to be a content pipeline dashboard as our landing spot. But in the Omni panel, you can see some of the specifics to what it helped us build. And so from there, what we'll do is take a quick tour, and it'll walk us through how it organized the data layer and some of the tables we'll see from topics to content drafts. Toggle over to the interfaces it helped build. We'll take a look at some of the steps within our process, and then obviously it points us back to Omni if we have any additional build requirements or follow-up questions. So if we toggle back here into the data layer, we can see tables for topics and content drafts. So if we take a look at content drafts, we'll notice that we have linked topics and reviews from separate tables linked together here on each piece of content. And that's a smart relational design choice, one of the core value props of Airtable, right? Connecting data across different tables, establishing a single source of truth, and preventing redundant data entry. And Omni knew to make that design decision for us from the initial prompt.
All right, sweet. Let's get back to the slides here. So again, the initial prompt into Omni was just describing, hey, this is our workflow, or this is the problem. Here are some of the steps to the process. Here's the team that's going to be engaging with it. And literally in a matter of minutes, we saw, multiple tables that support our workflow, that map to our workflow. We saw relational or linked records and relationships between records across tables. We saw interfaces custom built to map kind of the workflow, the content pipeline. And again, I could go ahead and publish right there. But I think one of the cool things about Omni too is that because we have the thread ongoing, additional edits, revisions, needs, it can co-build along on top of that initial prototype. Really cool stuff. Cool. So with that said, let's toggle over from Omni over to field agents, kind of the other large bucket, large category of native AI capabilities in Airtable. And I think this is where things really start to get interesting. And so here, let's go to a quick look. So in Airtable, obviously non-AI fields exist, and a normal field stores data that you put in it, right? And so across whatever format, whatever type you would want to do that with, single select, text, number, et cetera, et cetera. And so from there, a field agent is a field that can fill itself in using AI based on the other fields that you have about that record, right? So imagine you have a table of content drafts, like what we just saw in the Omni prototype example. And so we could add a field agent that reads each content draft and then automatically writes a social media post promoting it automatically. And what's neat about field agents is that it can then do that for every single record as they come in, right? So I'm not asking single threaded, hey, here's a draft, give me that. And then, I'm going to go back into my chat app and start a new thread when there's a new content draft. I can drag that sort of field agent, that AI social post generation capability across my entire content table, if that makes sense. And so, as you can see on the bottom of the slide, field agents do a remarkable job of a number of things. And these are some really, core AI use cases that field agents can really enable or empower your workflow. So first, users have a lot of success summarizing large documents or large pools of unstructured data, right? Think about like contracts or call recording transcripts, things like that. It does a really good job of summarizing those types of documents. Second, it can categorize or classify, rank your data, right? Give it a status, give it a sentiment, give it a priority score. Right? It can help generate rapid drafts, like it can help obviously generate content quickly. It can also help generate multiple variations, right? If you want to A/B test or try different branches or variants of your content, it can help with that. It can help with research and researching or gathering or enhancing, supplementing information for any of your partial or incomplete data sets. We'll talk about the web research toggle in a moment, but it helps with research. And then the last one here is like matching records, linking records. And so we'll look at the deep match capability. But again, field agents are great at semantically matching and connecting records across tables without relying only on like exact text match. It can understand the context of the tables of your data. And similar to normal fields, the outputs of a field agent aren't just limited to text. Obviously, it's a common one, but you can configure the outputs to be single or multiple select, like dropdowns. It can be numbers, percents, or like a currency. It can have image generation, right? So imagine like an infographic automatically generated for every piece of content you're drafting and storing in Airtable. It can build like web prototypes, like rich artifacts and that you can publish to the web, and we'll take a look at that in a moment. And if you take a look, video generation as well is coming. It's in beta, and so imagine video reel generated automatically against every record. Pretty cool. And I think I talked about dragging it down across a full table's worth of data, but I think that's where the most meaningful value of field agents lives, is the scale of it all, right? And so again, whether it is a summary or a category tag or a draft or a deep match or a web prototype or a combo of all of those things, you drag a field agent down across an entire table, and you can have it applied automatically across dozens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of records within your data. So the scale is the true unlock. Really cool. And so we'll take a look at it within Airtable, but just to kind of walk through what the configuration of a field agent looks like. There's just three kind of primary components. It can be fairly straightforward. The first section is just the inputs, right? What do you want the format type to be, right? Text, single select, number, image, etc. You can select the tools that you want the agent to reach for or to leverage. And you can also select the model it should use. And there's some parameters there. There's model providers, there's different model levels, there's cheaper ones, there's more sophisticated ones. All of that is configurable in that input section. The second section is where you design your prompt and you can preview the output. So this is where you give the agent its instructions. You can tell it exactly what fields within that table to look at. So I could say hey, use the content captured in the transcript field and the account name field, and then help me build an account plan or something like that. So it focuses specifically on those records as you work that into your prompt. And then here's an important shortcut too. And again, we'll take a look at this, but you don't have to write your system prompts or your field agent prompts yourself. Omni is also tremendous at authoring really sophisticated, really intelligent field agent prompts. And so you can describe what you want in plain language, just like what we saw in that app build example. And Omni can actually develop and write that full field agent prompt for you to then jump in and tweak and configure. So that really starts to accelerate the process. The third section is outputs and triggers. And so really the number one question here you're trying to decide is, when do you want your field agent to run, right? You can have it run manually. So you can self-select run field agent at any particular point. You can also flip on an automatic toggle. So it fires on its own every time a record gets updated or added to your table. And then you can also configure it to run when some conditional, conditions apply. So if a field that it referenced changes, or it runs on a particular schedule, at the end of every week, or to run when a certain status in a status field is changed. So there is some, customization, configuration there for having a field agent run, but in a simplistic way, you can just have it run automatically or manually upon select. And so I don't know, an example of the conditional triggers is, hey, I don't want to draft, I have a email draft field agent and I only want it to run when, a deal stage changes to closed won, right? Like for an account executive or something like that. It's the next steps email or recap email, something like that. And we only want to fire that off when a deal turns to close won. So it's not just automatically firing for every record, just the ones that matter and that require it. Okay, so let's build a brand new field agent from scratch. We'll build a few. We'll start fairly straightforward and simple, and we'll start to take a look at some of the more deeper, powerful capabilities within field agents, deep match, and some web prototypes. So let me again toggle back over, and we'll take a look what this appears to be in Airtable.
All right, so let's say I work for an event marketing team and I'm planning out our flagship Nexus Summer event. Now in Airtable, we've got our attendee table, and I'm actually going to add a few agents here to it, starting simple and then building up. So we'll start with an agent that writes into a regular long text field. Let's say every attendee is an assigned account executive, and I want some sort of like contextual confirmation email drafted for each of them. So we'll go ahead and add this one in here. We'll call it the registration email draft. Now, when going down to tools, one setting worth calling out is web search. By default, if this is toggled off, the agent will only know information that's captured in your base. Whereas if you turn on web search, it can go look things up live. So if you have a table of companies, it can pull each one's latest funding round or headcount. And if you have a list of event speakers, for example, in this use case, it could find their job title or a quick bio. So anything where the answer lives out on the web instead of your data. Now, moving to model, you can pick from a few different providers, a few different performance levels and costs. And the trade-off is simple, right? The more powerful models will cost a bit more to run. It'll give you a sharper, more nuanced output. Whereas the lighter models will be cheaper and faster. And they're great for straightforward jobs. So, pulling a company name out of an email, small model could be great. For reading this contract and flagging anything unusual in the terms, you'll want a stronger one. So for this, we'll use GPT 4.1, the default, and then we'll go ahead and provide some instructions. So write a friendly registration, confirmation email from each attendee's account executive, and then reference their company, and we'll specifically, cite that field. So reference their company and reference any sessions that they have preferences for. So from there, we're ready to go. If we toggle automatic generation, it'll run every single time a new attendee gets added to this table. We have some additional trigger options, but we'll skip those and we will create this agent. Now, it's asking if we want any additional records created. We'll skip that for now. But now we can see it populate, every single column or every single row on this spreadsheet. So now we have an email draft for every single attendee. And now it's a personalized email, right, for their AE to send. Something that would normally be a copy, paste, a tinker, a tweak, maybe 100 times. Now it's written once for every single row, every attendee automatically. And that's the foundational version, right? Text generated in a field, automatically done at scale across dozens, hundreds, thousands of records. So now let's level up. This is a use case that we call deep match, or a field agent type called deep match. So how we have this set up in Nexus Summit Planner, we have an attendee table. We have a separate content sessions table that makes up the agenda. Deep match agent will read both and then connect each attendee to the sessions based on the preferences. So because this is a little more complex, we'll move to a different model, maybe, Claude 4.6, Sonnet, and then, we'll make sure that we cite all of the right fields that we want it to reference. Hey, their title, their company, their session preferences, and then back on the sessions table, the names, the types, and the capacity. We've also, included some clarification on session recommendations, when and how to cap those. We will do some additional triggers here because not every attendee may have session preferences. So run this agent as long as session preferences are not empty, and we'll go ahead and create that. So now it's finding matches, right? Sessions from the sessions table over to the attendees. And then, we've seen it populated, right? This is the type of judgment you'd expect a human to have to spend time to review. It's a decision they'd have to make. But now it's, again, running across every single row in this attendees database. And you can see it there. If we're to go ahead and click into one, we can see each one of those session records, including the name, the day it runs as part of the event agenda. And so all sessions have been dematched to attendees based on title, company, and their preferences. Third one real quick, I consider it a showstopper. What's really cool is that a field agent can actually output a full web page, right? Not just text in a field, an actual page. And so what we'll do is under the types option, choose web prototype. You can see it here. And you'll see the models configuration changes a bit. We'll put this at maximum for now. Now, this is, as you can imagine, it would require some more complex instructions. So sometimes what we'll do is have AI write our system prompt, our field agent prompt for us. So, hey, make an elegant, high-end welcome landing page for each attendee to Nexus Summit, including, their personalized welcome copy, maybe include their logo, reference their sessions. And then again, similar to the previous one, we'll make this contingent on when session matches from the deep match agent have been populated. So for the sake of time, I've actually pre-built this one. So I'll go ahead and unhide this field so you can see what this looks like. But again, the exact same prompt. We had AI run it, and now you're seeing bespoke, individualized, personalized agenda landing pages curated for every single unique attendee in the base. It includes session recommendations, their dietary restrictions, their name, their title, the logo of the company they work for, right? Pretty powerful, pretty cool stuff. All right, so let's say I work.
All right, folks, let's see here. Let me get us back into the deck. I'm also catching up on some chat posts. I see the QA has come alive too, so appreciate folks capturing any and all questions that they may have. I might just take a quick moment and try and address some of the quick ones. But yeah, please keep throwing them into the Q&A panel, and I think we'll have enough time baked in to get to as many of these, most of these, or as many of these as we possibly can. First, I saw some questions about Field Agent and Airtable integrations. I think I saw Jira, Atlassian tools. I think I saw HubSpot. The short answer is yes. Jira, I believe, is part of our like native integration options, so that should be a fairly straightforward connector to then have the two platforms speak to each other. For HubSpot, I think it might have to be powered by APIs. I'm fairly confident that we have like a data sync API or a workflows API where you can bring data or that context between platforms. Another one I think I saw, our field agents. Is Omni a free feature or is it paid? Field agent capabilities, like the AI capabilities and AI credits to power them are available on all plans, all the way down to free. So free Airtable plans can use field agents. And then obviously, as you can imagine, moving up in plan would, increase the amount of total AI credits that you and your team would have. But yes, these are free features and they're available on free plans. Golly, all right, hold on. I think I saw a few more. Let's see. I think I saw, let's see, where was that one? The session is being recorded. Please know. And then, so anybody can catch this after the fact. I think there was one question in the chat from Stacy, are the examples built on existing data? They don't necessarily have to be. If you're building an app or a brand new base with Omni, it can be from scratch. It'll start with dummy data so you can get a sense of how the actual workflow will take shape inside of Airtable. But once it builds that initial base for you, one of the prompts that it asks is like, hey, if you're ready to publish this, I can scrub and remove the dummy data. From there, you can start with manual entry if you're starting from scratch, or it can be fairly straightforward to import in any data if it's a spreadsheet or from some other tool. So anyways, it doesn't have to be built on existing data. Alex, I saw a question about education. Yes, there's we actually have a whole group in our Airtable community for higher ed, K-12, like education use cases. I bet they would be the best place to ask around that compliancy question. But yes, there are a number of colleges, universities, and school systems that are Airtable customers. All right, hold on. Sorry, I'll get through a few more, and then we'll go back into it, and then we'll funnel these back into the Q&A panel. All right, let's see. I think I saw someone plug Airtable Academy. Appreciate that. All self-paced, on-demand courses, starting at very beginner, like 101, brand new to Airtable day one. Obviously, all the way to the more sophisticated, complex capabilities. Our certifications are free as well. Right. Let's see. All right. Can you cover the Claude and Airtable integration? Okay. Would you recommend building this out from the Claude interface? Ooh, excellent question, because that is a perfect segue into this. I think I saw somebody ask about would I need to create a brand new Claude account to integrate? Not necessarily. You can link it up to whatever Claude. I mean, it's just, how much context you want to carry over from previous conversations that you've had with Claude and have that inform your Airtable build. So it does not require a brand new Claude setup. But anyways, let's get into it in a moment because I know some of the pricing questions came up. So we'll do one quick slide on credits and costs, and then we'll get to the Claude and the MCP stuff. I think the number one thing to flag, like, yes, Omni field agents, they are available at our free plan, but also building with Omni is completely free. So there are no AI credits consumed when you've delegated the work or you're using Omni. So even if it's taking build actions in your base or read or update actions in your base, users have unlimited use through Omni. And so credits and the costs really come into play when you have field agents run. Okay, so super quick. With credits, like any other platform, honestly, the cost varies by the task you're asking the field agent to complete. So categorizing a record is probably like 1 credit's worth of usage. Researching a company on the web, so having a field agent use that web research capability, is around 10. Analyzing a complex document like this big, heavy legal contract, that could be upwards of 200. Generating an image from your data is more. And so you can see how kind of the cost starts to scale based on the complexity of the task. And so oftentimes it's recommended, like, before you run a field agent across, a big table, a huge set of data, it will allow you to preview the total credit cost. So you can start to do the math before you actually commit, right? So, hey, this is kind of the field agent, this is the prompt, this is how many records we have. You can get a sense of the credit cost just to make sure that, you've had the right model, you have the capacity to do it, you can walk it back before it begins. And I think it's also worth noting too that model selection comes into play here. And so lower powered models, and you'll see them, when you're building out a field agent, you could have saw it on the demo, but some of them will be tagged as low cost. So these will use fewer credits per run. They also run faster, and they're, oftentimes a good fit for that, like, simpler, like, high volume work. And so, yeah, you would want to just match, model sophistication or model cost to task complexity as well, right? And so I know I mentioned this, obviously credits, AI being available on the free plan. The example here is our business plan. So as you can see, every paid editor has 2,000 AI credits a month, but those credits are pooled across the entire organization, if that makes sense. So on the business plan here, if a team has 10 paid users, they're not individually working with 20,000 credits each. It's actually one shared pool of 200,000 credits a month, right? And so an org with 50 paid users would have 1 million AI credits a month, right? So it pools, it's not gated at the individual users level, if that makes sense. And, those numbers, these AI credit budgets, they're not designed to just only allow you to, like, kick tires on a few records or to tinker and experiment. Like, the idea and the model was built with Airtable to allow for you to run field agents across real tables every day as part of how the team actually works at the cadence, the speed, etc. And so, the credit allowances, they're designed for production and real work, right? Not that small kind of subset or experimentation. So, anybody, even going down to free, field agents would unlock quite a bit. And again, reinforcing that Omni and building with Omni is completely free. I think last note on this slide, and then we'll go back to MCP. Nobody has to memorize all of this. I just wanted to include, the business plan here as a reference, just to talk about, the scaling costs per task, this idea of pooling. But we have all of our AI billing parameters in a support article. It lays out every plan's allotment from free all the way to enterprise. It shows how exactly, each plan can add more if and as needed. And so that's certainly the number one place to check to get the full download on credits and pricing. Just felt worth covering because it comes up a ton. So moving on from Omni and field agents, Airtable's native AI experiences, we know that there's a broader picture here. And so, everyone kind of has their AI workflows running. We have our chat apps of choice, and those are obviously living outside of Airtable. and we don't want to limit agentic capabilities, AI-assisted workflow creation only within the walls of Airtable, right? Because the AI that you care about right now and that you're using doesn't necessarily live in Airtable. It's Claude, it's ChatGPT, etc. And so with MCP, this is how we will allow those outside agents to do work with and within Airtable and your data. And so we'll take a look at that. I don't know. We can take it in the chat. I don't know how familiar folks might be with MCP. So we'll just do a quick definition and walk through. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. Really, all you really need to know is that it's the standardized way for AI agents to connect to external tools and data sources. So if your AI agent is in Claude, MCP is what will allow that agent to read from and then write into your Airtable base, right? It kind of is like like APIs in that sense. And it doesn't, the benefit of it is that, it doesn't require a custom integration from scratch to allow that to happen. And so the official Airtable MCP server is live. It's available today. It's in the app or the connector libraries for Claude and ChatGPT right now. And so connecting Airtable to one of these AI tools, your AI tool of choice here, it takes all of 2 clicks. It's fairly straightforward to get set up. And so usually a question following that is, well, once I connect Airtable to Claude, does that mean AI can now see everything? And the short answer is no, right? The Airtable MCP server respects the exact same permissions that you or the user already has. So an agent will only be able to read or write or change the data that user themselves are allowed to access, to read themselves, right? So if you as a user only has access to a single base, then that is all the agent gets access to as well, right? So your governance that you've set up in Airtable carries over even as you start to do work in Claude, if that makes sense. And so I think, as we bring in Claude or ChatGPT into our work, I think this is why everything that we've started to look at within Airtable matters more than ever, right? Because again, going back to a system of record, a well-built base, clean fields, clean data, logical relationships between that data, it makes humans' lives easier, but it also makes agents' lives easier as well. So the good data hygiene habits that we've installed for humans are exactly the same for making a base agent ready. So we'll take a look at that in a moment. So we'll look at both building from Claude into Airtable, and then we'll also take a look at having Claude read your data and then pull relevant information in a summary out. So we'll take a look at pushing in and pulling out. All right, so give me one sec, and we'll toggle back over to Airtable and to Claude.
Okay, so first, just checking the connectors under Customize, we can see that the Airtable MCP has been connected. So for this example, let's revisit the Nexus Summit event. So I'll toggle over to the Nexus Summit project, and then let's say we want Claude to help us add a sponsors table to the conference base. So for the Nexus Summit, we need to make a plan for potential sponsors, help us research up to 20 options, explain why they'd be a fit, and then we link Claude directly to the Nexus Planner Airtable app. And then, now we'll follow along and we'll watch Claude work as it inspects the tools that it needs. It fetches the right records, it's processing, it's analyzing, and then in a few moments, hopefully we'll see it execute that research and the build out into Airtable. All right, so as it pops open here, we can see both the prospect plan. So it gave us, looks like an artifact, just summarizing the work it's done, how it determined. Looks like it's helped tier some of them, and then gave us some next steps. But now let's go ahead and click over into Airtable, and now we can see next to attendees and sessions, there's a sponsors table. And so, besides the name and the categorization that it recommended, that pulled over, we have some fields on why each of these companies is a hit, or fit, what the hook would be potentially to a session, the audience overlap between our organizations, some suggested activation moments, and then an outreach status field where our team can start to work within as we begin outreach to these potential prospective partners. So this is what Airtable looks like as a system of record in practice. But it could also go the other way and pull information from Airtable. It can read a base and summarize what's in it. And so here we have it asking us to summarize, or we're asking it to summarize the registration so far for the event and create an update deck for the exec team with 3 slides in total. Again, we link it right to the base. And so again, we'll follow along as it's processing. But again, I think what enables third-party agents like Claude to work this well is when your system of record is well structured. The fields are clearly named. That's truly all an agent needs in order to parse, review, and action on your data reliably, right? Schema and data. Now, as we let it finish the build out here for the slides, and we'll see what this looks like. Now, obviously, we could have customized or specified if we want Google Slides or PowerPoint or an HTML deck. But here, as it reaches into Airtable, it's reading the registration records of our attendees, and now we can see, confirmed attendee tallies by company, who might be returning from previous events. We see the seniority mix, where programming and speaker selection may stand, the demand levels across sessions. So yeah, this data, as we know, has lived inside of Airtable as our single source of truth, and Claude is working straight off of it and building new artifacts for us and our teams.
All right, folks. I mean, so we saw 2 examples there, right? We saw giving it access to Airtable allows it to build directly in. So we saw the sponsorships table. And then we also saw it reference information and then surface that into something different, but all only in Claude, right? So we built an executive summary deck without ever having to log into Airtable ourselves necessarily. And, again, with Claude, if we had certain skills, around, hey, executive deck creation, brand kit, you can really start to configure and customize the output, not only with the Airtable information and data, but again, however else we like to power and configure our Claude. One quick note, I've seen this question, I think, Turna, this might be yours. It's an interesting one. And so I just want to cover it. I know we're about to get into an official Q&A section, but I don't want to lose this one because this one is pretty interesting. So really just to start, it sounds like, you have PDFs. And so you have, like a Google Drive or something, PDFs are attached to records. And then you're having field agents, populate a table within Airtable based on the information that they pull out of that PDF, right? And so I forget the example of the field. Oh yeah, author, journal, topic area, variables. And so it's continuing to pull back into a PDF. However, every time, something changes, it can start to get costly because you're bringing it all the way back to a PDF, right? Unstructured PDF analysis. And so it's hey, what's a credit management or credit optimization workflow there? One thing that we found to be pretty helpful is to have an agent. Sorry, this gets super in the weeds. I know this is getting started, but this question is really interesting. Is that, the first agent is to actually just extract all information from that PDF into a long text field within Airtable. And then all of those additional field agents that just need something more specific. So author, topic, it pulls from the extracted data that you have in Airtable. So moving forward, it continues to just reference a long text field in Airtable, not going all the way back to this large, heavy, unstructured PDF. Let me know if that makes sense. You can also chase me down after this too and talk more. It came up, I saw you post it. Again, there's all these little tips and hacks as it relates to stretching AI credits as far as you can. And that's one that might help you there. Okay, so listen, to wrap, I want to get to the Q&A. We've talked about the 3 kinds of AI that are happening at work. We have chat apps. We know them. We love them. You ask a question, you get an answer. They're great for one-off tasks, but we know there can be some issues, hallucinations, the disappearance of context, the requirement to have an input to generate the output. So then you start to get into these AI powered workflows. System of record for context. You set it up and it can run every time or however you need it to run. And I think this is where we see most teams moving towards today. And then lastly, we get all the way down to AI agents, right? Autonomous, they take action, they can make decisions, they reason, they're working across multiple tools and systems, they're marching towards a goal, even as you haven't specified acute steps towards that goal. And then this can be field agents in Airtable. It can be via Claude or ChatGPT with MCP, maybe a combination of both. And again, as we saw, at least in the Claude example, this is building in Airtable, but it's also referencing and pulling out data from Airtable. Really cool. Okay, so I will pause there for a moment. I think the Q&A pane is getting busy. So happy to, we'll try and knock out as many of these as we can. Nia, back of house. Do you need anything from me, or we'll just start taking a look and try knocking some of these off?
Yes, we can definitely start fielding these Q&A questions. But everyone putting their questions in the chat, please direct them to the Axe Presenters panel. Also, there are resources that we do have in the tab. So some of the things that Kevin was speaking about, you can preview them there as well. But I'm going to hand it back over to you, and we'll start going through some of these questions.
Awesome. Yes. All right, let me pull them up so I can see them.
And yes, the recording will be shared later this week as well for everyone asking. So if you missed a part of it, it's perfectly fine. You can watch it at your convenience, and it's going to be via email.
I know I talk fast at times. I think it's partially due to excitement around some of these topics. But I just know folks tend to watch these at like a 2x speed anyways. And so, I'll save you the extra click on the self-recording or the on-demand version. And now I'm already talking 2x. So hopefully I'm eliminating a step for y'all, right? All right, Christina, checking the resources for Claude plus Airtable session. I can't see it. Okay, yeah, we have Academy resources that are like introductory to the Airtable MCP. And then I know that there is a MCP server area of our like knowledge base or like our support docs. And so we can make sure to get you those. Maybe Nia, as I'm starting to answer some of these questions, you can help drop those in. Is there a way to import data from a Google Sheet with extensive formatting data into Airtable using AI or Omni? So kind of how we saw in the Omni example, where we started to kind of describe some of the key milestones of the process we wanted to bring into Airtable. In that initial Omni prompt, sometimes it can just be helpful to give it a bulleted list of all of the headers or however you structure your data, giving that as be explicit with that. And then it does a really good job of building that into the app. I think the other thing you can do too is whether or not you have an app that you built with Omni or there's something that's pre-existing, you can go through an import flow via Google Sheet, or like if you've exported that as a CSV. And again, it's Omni. I think what makes Omni so powerful is that it has like a deeper understanding of a process as long as you kind of give it enough in the prompt. And so it'll be able to read through the formatting that you're bringing in, understand the relationships between the data, and then incorporate that into the base. And if it doesn't nail it at the first time, we all know AI, any system doesn't have 100% hit rate on the one shot, the first try. But the point is to be iterative. And so you can always nudge it with the updates or the improvements you'd want to see. And you can see a compounding, prototype being built from there. So a couple tips. All right, from Anna T at the top here. I would love to know how one can tell whether something is doable in Airtable by itself, so quantifying certain data, and when using AI would be beneficial because Airtable may not have or have limited capacity. So I think, well, first things first is like, hey, are we talking about something that already lives in Airtable, right? It's like, hey, I have this workflow, I have my data in Airtable. Now I'm trying to get a sense if like AI can take it a step further. The best way, the easiest way to check is to ask Omni, right? And so whether that is reorienting how your data is set up. If you need a new table, if you're linking records, or again, Omni can build field agents on your behalf. And so it's like, hey, I'm trying to quantify the data in this table. This is how we're really trying to like understand it. Here's how we usually format the outputs, and then Omni will let you know, and it'll give it a shot. And so that's probably the easiest way to do it. If you don't have that workflow in Airtable yet, again, similar answer in that Omni can help gut check you, but go all the way to the starting point of like, hey, create new app in Airtable, build with Omni. And again, just kind of explain with natural language what it is that you're trying to do inside of Airtable, and you can see what Omni builds for you. So anyways, that's usually a good gut check on whether or not something can be doable with Airtable. Right? Let's see. Jessica L. Can Omni review a current app to look for a duplicate field? Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, again, it can read and then it can update too. And so put the question into Omni, hey, can you audit this base? This would also be a good question for Claude or ChatGPT through the MCP, right? I think for a number of these, you don't even have to limit them to only Omni being able to do it or only Claude. And so, yes, whether it's Omni and or with Claude, hey, here's, the base. Can you help me find duplicative fields or redundant data, or where, even more generally, hey, where could I help clean up or apply a little more hygiene to this data set? So definitely accomplishable there. Is it better to use, let's see, Quabena B, is it better to use Omni to build or build it on your own? It's a fundamental question. I don't know if it has an easy answer. I think there's pros and cons to both, right? Is it better to use Omni? Well, it could certainly be faster with Omni, right? It prevents you from having to understand how to custom code or write script for any sort of like custom interface that you would want for your data set. I don't know how to, write the code snippet or the script to get, a 3D visualization of my physical product, but Omni does, and Omni can. And so I think it's going to be contingent on what you're looking to do. And so I don't know, maybe a good rule of thumb is to always try and start with Omni. See, at a minimum, does it get you far along enough on the process, and then you can take it to the finish line. That might be the best way to do it. Let's see. To Mecca B, new user with Airtable, creating a CRM listserv, a ton of duplications. I need help identifying duplication. Yeah, so actually similar question. Ask Omni, or if you have a connection to ChatGPT or Claude, agents. That's a good agent use case for sure. Elizabeth M, is an app in this case considered a base? Good foundational question. We probably could have started this whole presentation with like, okay, here's the Airtable dictionary. But yes, I tend to see that, apps or bases can be synonymous or interchangeable, right? So it's really whatever it is that you're trying to build on top of the relational data that you store in Airtable, right? So a base certainly is the structure of it in Airtable. Could be an app when you have, users, your team starting to use it. Workflow, yeah, I would consider those synonyms. Let's see. Yvonne, do you need to have a subscription to use Omni? No. So Omni, field agents, and AI credits are all available at the free plan. So you don't need to have a paid Airtable plan. And again, anything you're delegating out to Omni does not consume AI credits. So building with Omni in and of itself is free to access, but also free from a credits perspective. All right, let's see. I think we got 2 more minutes. We'll see. We'll try and rapid fire a few more of those. Let's see. Are you able to combine a prompt and a data set to assist with suggesting the best table format? Yeah, 100%, right? So again, starting from scratch with Omni or taking advantage of the MCP, those sorts of capabilities allow for a file upload, right? And so it's like, hey, here is kind of the workflow I'm trying to build out. I want to design this and do this in Airtable. Here are the steps. Here's kind of the output or the end goal that I'm trying to reach. For reference, here is a data set that powers this workflow. And so, yes, the short answer is you can certainly attach a data set or any sort of context as a file attachment and have it inform your build. Let's see. What data, Michelle G, sorry, what data was used in this demo? So I think the core use cases were like a content management workflow, and then Nexus Summit, like a event marketing workflow. We've populated these bases with dummy data. Fun fact, if you ever need to record a demo of an Airtable app, Omni and Claude or ChatGPT are great at populating bases with dummy data. So, these are real workflows that real customers use, but we always just want to make sure that like the data within is anonymized and so just dummy data that we built into these bases, but the actual underlying structure are very much like real world and things that real customers of Airtable are using today. All right, we just hit the hour mark. So I know we've already spent a long time together. So maybe if I can knock out one more and then actually, you know what? Sorry, this is the shameless plug section of the deck. It came up a couple different times. And so it's just worth iterating. I don't always have all of the answers. And we also don't have all the time in the world to get to every question. And so shameless plug time to just point you towards the resources where you can go to get all of the answers to all of the questions you may still have, or if you want to learn more. So going down the QR code list here, I know we talked about it quick. Airtable Academy, completely free, full of self-paced on-demand courses, a certification program. And again, this will take you from your very first time logging into Airtable, building your first base, to being a really advanced agentic systems designer. And so definitely check that out, 100% free. Airtable Community is also completely free, populated with 105,000 users and builders. And so it's a great place to drop in questions, swap workflows, get unstuck with others that are likely trying to build the same sorts of things as you are. And then I know we talked about it in the higher ed space, but we have Airtable Builder Crews. This is our like user group program. They have both virtual crews, which are built around, communities of practice, common use cases, verticals, departments, marketing, AI, higher ed, nonprofit. And we also are bringing builder crews to a city near you. So if you're interested in finding other Airtable users in your city for meetup, casual hang, we have those. And if you don't see one in your city, reach out to the team and help us start a new one. Last one, Airtable Effect. It's our monthly newsletter. We post to LinkedIn. We send it to your inbox. We post onto the Airtable community. It's basically a roundup of what's new in Airtable, product launches, program updates, fresh academy courses, upcoming events, builder crew hangs. And it obviously, circulates out to all of the places. So you can read it where you find it the most helpful to find it. With that, folks, that's all I have. Really appreciate you all spending the time with me. We covered a lot. We moved fast. And so don't hesitate to reach out and to take advantage of some of these other resources. Best of luck with your Airtable journeys. Again, my name was Kevin Dunn. Appreciate you spending the time, and I'll see y'all soon.
Thank you all so much for joining, and thank you, Kevin, for the amazing presentation. Please keep a lookout for the recording and the resources in your email later this week. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day.